Felix, and I'll be covering America's religious perceptions. This is Samantha Eloff. Samantha Eloff applied for a job at Abercrombie & Fitch. However, instead of being accepted or rejected based on her qualifications as a potential employee, she was rejected on the basis of her religion. This is because instead of accommodating her religious beliefs, they rejected her because she wore the Muslim headscarf known as the hijab. She responded by a lawsuit against the company, but also this quote, "I was born in the United States. I thought it was the same as everyone else." America is heavily influenced by Protestant Christianity. Nearly 50% of America identifies with some form of Protestant Christianity. This is a stark difference compared to the less than 10% amount of people that identify with any form of non-Christian faith. With occurrences of religious discrimination such as Samantha Eloff's and the high amount of Protestants that make up the amount of the population, a question arises. To what extent does the United States have a negative bias against non-Protestant religious groups? I intend to prove that there has been a strong bias, but there is hope to show that it will go away soon, or eventually. How does this relate to the stimulus materials? The stimulus materials focus primarily on perception. Bias is just another form of perception. Specifically, the sources I used were Historian as Participant by Arthur Salinger Jr. and to gain historical perspective. I used Attitudes Towards Muslim Women in the West to gain a understanding of how Muslim women are treated in the United States. This was written by Laila Abu Laqut. Now that we are linked to the stimulus materials, we can now look at the historical perceptions. Historically, negative bias against religious groups primarily focused on that of Catholicism. Anti-Catholic bias was characteristic of historical America. This is seen in the American Benedictine Review, a Catholic academic journal for history, where they found that the Know Nothing Party, a political party in earlier America, was created solely for the purpose of going against Catholicism. They found that the Know Nothing Party participated in things such as church burnings and rallying against immigration from Catholic countries such as Ireland. Now that we have a historical understanding, we can now look at the cultural implications. Culturally, the religious groups that face the most discrimination in modern society are atheists and Muslims. According to the American Sociological Review, they found that people have started to treat Muslims as an undesirable other in society. They found that in their study, because atheists lack a religion or belief in a deity, which has been so characteristic throughout the historical United States, that they shouldn't be treated equally in the society at large. Another group that's been treated as an other is Muslims. In the post-9/11 world, the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs found that Muslims in the post-9/11 world have been treated as if, or have been seen in relation to the terrorists in the Middle East. They've been associated closely with extremists instead of their peaceful religious groups in the United States. Now that we have a cultural understanding, we will now look at the political implications. Politically, there are limitations because there's such a diverse amount of Protestant groups in the United States. Just from 2000 to 2016 alone, there was a shift of 20% in those that identified with formal Protestant religion to informal Protestant religion. This is according to Gallup, a statistical research system. So we cannot look at things such as the elevation of gay rights or transgender support to find the bias against them. Even though we can't look at the elevation of certain groups, we can look at targeting against certain groups. According to Brigham Young University Law Review, they found that the proposed Trump Muslim ban of then-candidate Donald Trump in 2016 was a fear tactic policy. This policy was meant to strike fear in people who were weary of terrorism in the Middle East, and was basically, in effect, a way to prevent Muslim immigration. This is just a obvious evidence of bias. We can also look to the Journal of Applied Psychology to see that today people are hesitant to vote for atheists. This is because they view them as immoral. solely on the basis that they don't think because they won't answer to a deity that they won't have a moral compass. So this leads me to my first conclusion. Culturally and politically, there's a significant bias against atheists and Muslims. Evidence of them being treated as an other and that is undesirable in society, and practices such as not voting because they don't believe that atheists have a moral compass show evidence of this. This is seen in both the political and cultural analysis. However, there is reason to believe that there is a change soon for these groups. Today in the United States, nearly 24% of the United States Senate identifies with Roman Catholicism. This significant representation is also seen in the United States Congress, where 31% of the representatives identify as Catholic. In essence, Catholics went from being discriminated against in the Know Nothing Party and having their churches burnt down in historical America to being a group where they are being chosen to represent people and their families. This is, they were once rejected and now they are used as the model people that we base our society on. This could be possible for atheists and Muslims, where they found where right now with things such as the Trump Muslim ban, they're being tempted to being shut out of the United States, similar to how the Know Nothing Party tried to shut out Catholics. So hopefully in the future we can see that Muslims will see the same treatment as Catholics and be elevated to a higher place in American culture.
Thank you, Trenton. For the oral defense questions, how valid and reliable are the sources you used? How did you know, and which sources did not work?
I think my sources were very credible and reliable because I used things such as Pew Research, which is a statistical research nonpartisan group, and Gallup. These are both respected statistical research centers, so I feel like this really gives credibility to my evidence and my point that I brought up. There are also things such as the opinions of sociologists leads me to believe that my analysis of the cultural and political bias has further strength because they're experts in studying psychology and sociology.
Thank you. If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct related to your issue?
If I were to have more time, I would primarily look at the opinions of different Protestant groups on political things such as gay rights and transgender support, because even though there's such a diverse group, I would have wanted to find some support and some disagreement within them. I feel like that was lacking in my, although it didn't take away, I think it would have made my argument stronger.
Thank you, Trent.